Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Conversations, the galaxy's #1 conversational podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Will Beeman, joined as always by my two Jedi apprentices, starting off with the glowing, ever so lovely DJ Gillard. DJ, you today?
I was well until you called me an apprentice, and I feel sort of offended. But
let's see the braid. Let's see the braid, DJ.
Braid?
Yeah. Your headphone kind of looks like a braid, actually.
It does.
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, obviously.
Are you in a good mood today? Because you're not wearing your black sweatshirt you usually wear.
It doesn't.
You're clean shaven. Your face looks beautiful.
I did shave last night. That was something I did. But I like to keep it clean for you guys. But that's it. I don't have any reason for this sweater. I don't have any reason from the other sweaters. They're clothing that I wear sometimes. It's how it goes.
I think it's just because you're loving the authority you have now that you're the big boss.
No. I still don't get the barking reference, but I think you tell me every week, and I still just say, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's just part of your identity now.
Okay, I accept it.
And it's a Brian Johnson whodunit. We have Jackson Wells today. Jackson, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And you know what? As always, it's a pleasure to be here.
I know you're a nerd, so it's probably gaming related, but are you wearing like a name brand hat? Is that crown a brand?
That's funny. It's funny that you asked that, actually. I bought these hats off of TikTok before Christmas, and they finally came in. They're from this Canadian, I think they're Toronto-based, like indie shop or whatever, called Ruling Society, and they posted this TikTok saying, if this TikTok gets X amount of likes, we'll sell our hats for $5 for a day. And so I bought 3 $5 hats. They all look like this, and they're different colors. I got red, white, and blue, baby. You know how I represent.
Just like the sweater's red, white, and blue too.
Representing the freedoms of America from up north.
Of course, yeah, from a Canadian-based company purchases.
It's because, like we've discovered yesterday with our conversation with our friend Islam from Denmark, that we have access to the Black Series that he does not. So America wins again.
Once again.
They can take their health care and shove it. No, I thought maybe that hat was like a Supreme brand or something. That's like...
No, it's like as close as Supreme brand as I'd get. I was looking at these hats, and I was like, is the crown too much? And I was like, nah, it's okay.
I do like the crown, though. I would buy one of those.
If you don't like it, just turn it inside out. You'll be fine.
And you know what? They gave me all these stickers that I conveniently have here. I got 4 of them. They say Society on them.
Society. That's perfect because you're the Joker.
Yes, of course. I put one on my laptop already.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of these episodes, we should have Jackson have Joker makeup on, and then DJ go full Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then next time I'm like home, DJ will just was Batman, and he'll just like beat me painfully
on camera.
Yeah,
it'll be nice next time you're home because you guys can finally open your Christmas gifts from me.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Pump me with that 5G, baby.
Speaking of gifts, before we get into the episode, there is some show and tell. I had a mail day. We got to show them off. Starting off with Jackson's favorite character in all of Star Wars, and that would be the dark side vision of Rey from Rise of Skywalker. Check her out. That's a good fig.
Does the lightsaber just come with the one blade? It's not double bladed?
No, it's double bladed. It's just folded.
Oh, okay. In the box. Okay, I can see that now. Okay.
Yeah, it's folded.
It looked like a single, and I was just like, that's very inaccurate.
I was very happy they actually got like a good face mold of Daisy Ridley. Some of her action figures are very hit or miss on if they actually look like her or not. And then the most important one that I got, the King, Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
That's like just a classic, like basic Jar Jar. Like it's canon Jar Jar.
It's got the staff and the shield from Phantom Menace. It looks like it would have been sold in 2001.
It's got one of those swinging ball things. Yeah, it's a good figure.
He swings and he chokes himself with it. Fantastic scene.
Including the one that I have of him autographed. This is now my 3rd Jar Jar Binks action figure I have now.
Of course, yeah.
I gotta say, the Gungans have their own issues, but their weapon design is very, very fun.
Yeah. I do like their characters. I'm glad one popped up in Light of the Jedi too.
Correct. Yes.
So they're always around. And are we still going to hold firm with our guess that Taika Waititi plays a Gungan in his eventual Star Wars film? Like he's got to, right? So I guess that's it for the show and tell today. We got a pretty basic and straightforward episode. We're gonna do a little bit of a recap and kind of give our closing thoughts on the final part of Light of the Jedi, which is part 3. We've gone through each part week by week so far. I'm gonna give a little bit of a summary and a rundown of the middle grade reader Justina Ireland book, A Test of Courage. I finished it finally.
And just eviscerate it. This kid's book is so dumb.
Yeah, I'm gonna just rip it to shreds because it was written for young children. But and then DJ will talk a little bit about how the comic was, and I don't know if Jackson's got anything in store for us today or not. He might just participate in the conversation.
Exactly. We'll see. I'm gonna tear apart the comic too, because comics are for people that can't read. They just want to look at
comics
pictures.
are for dorks.
I will say, I started yesterday. I bought this a couple weeks ago, and I finally started reading it. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Completely irrelevant to us, but I wanted to say that I forgot to tell DJ. So I figured I got you here. I'll let you know.
Yeah, you hit me. You hit me in the moment. It's good. That's the Matt Fraction one, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, then yes, I will read that eventually.
Yeah, I just forgot until I looked down. I got Jar Jar on my shirt too.
Ooh,
that's a good shirt. What is that?
It's the 20th anniversary. From the Phantom Menace. These are the characters they chose for some reason.
They picked all the stars.
The main stars of the film.
Is that supposed to be Obi?
Jar Jar, and Maul.
Okay, that's Qui-Gon. Okay, it was hard to tell. I was like, yeah.
Because when you think Phantom Menace, those are the 4 characters you think of, obviously.
Honestly, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. Like Darth Maul and Jar Jar walks, obviously, and you know what? Yeah, that's actually a great crew. That 4.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I was joking at first, but it's really not solid polls. Like you could probably put in Sebulba for somebody as well.
Yeah, like Watto's the only one.
Probably interchangeable.
Yeah,
Watto's the only one where I can't tell if I'm thinking about it because he's a meme in the kind of funny sphere that we're in, or if it's just he's always there. He's always with us.
Certainly an interesting character.
Yeah.
So I had a message from my friend Sheev here, and he wants Jackson to kick off the conversation of part 3 of Light of the Jedi this week, since we had DJ kick off the part 2 conversation. So Jackson, give me your thoughts on part 3 of the Light of the Jedi here.
You know what? We talked last week about part 2, and we were like, book's pretty much done. Where do we go from here? I will say, this was not what I expected how this book would end. And if I could remember what I said, I would say that I was wrong, but I can't remember, so I can't be sure. But I thought it was interesting. They pull everything together. The Nihil, I commented on the Nihil last week, and I was like, okay, these guys are kind of boring. Like, well, what's the deal here? They certainly go all out by the end of this book, and they certainly set themselves up to be galaxy-wide villains theoretically. And the Jedi are certainly doing their thing too. I'm kind of dancing around it because we're gonna get into it at some point. I think overall I was a little I think I was right where I was like, I feel like this is going to be kind of anticlimactic just based on what we're used to for like big Star Wars story endings. And I think that's true. Like the real ending of this book is just like a random skirmish off to the side that people think is the big ending. And that happens a lot in Star Wars where like, it's not really over when you think it's over. But I feel like they do a better job of like making it a little more grandiose and exciting in the moment. And this book is 100% sequel bait. Like it doesn't even really end. It just stops.
Yeah. And that's probably my biggest complaint about it, to be honest.
Yeah. And yeah, so I guess maybe we can get deeper into it later. I will say this book does end pretty horny. Which hadn't happened yet. Which hadn't happened yet in the book, and I was waiting for it. Cause like Star Wars, you don't think it's horny, but it is in
Yeah.
a lot of points. And this one finally hit at the end. So that'll be kind of my opening thoughts. I'd love to hear what DJ has to say, actually.
I would
You know
too.
what? I echo most of that. I think some of the stuff with the Nile didn't go in the directions I think I wanted it to. Like when I thought it was awesome when like Martian like went crazy and
He
chopped off.
cooed the Nihil.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
chopped off his arm, and I was just like, man, we're going places. Like he's really taking over. And then by the ending like speech with all that stuff, I wasn't totally sold on them as villains anymore. I kind of wanted them to have more of a. I mean, we'll see where he goes, but like, you know what I mean. It was a little bit too nihilistic, in which I know is the point, but is like
In the Nile were
Nihilistic?
nihilistic.
yeah, I know it's the point, but it's also like I thought Martian was going to go a different direction, so I was a little disappointing. But overall, I thought it was a totally acceptable conclusion, and I definitely feel like it's sequel bait, but I'm still in for the sequel, so I guess it works.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like Phantom Menace to me in a weird way, where the ending skirmish like isn't really a big deal when you think of the like big branching politics of everything, but it sets up everything that's going to happen from now
Yeah,
on.
and
Really,
this book people start dropping like flies at the end too,
yeah.
which is one of the faults of this book where like I just can't keep track of all these Jedi.
Yeah, at a
So
certain
it's
point, I'm just like, all right, that one died. Okay, that's
it's
a
almost
shame.
good that
But
they killed off half of them.
There would
yeah,
be a point where I was reading and then they would be like, yeah, and so fell to their death a few moments ago. And I was like, I forgot that character was even in this book.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Wood and Greatstorm, though, man,
Yeah. Loading
we
great
almost
stuff.
lost the real one, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought I was having like a stroke for a second because like the way the book ends, like they make you want to think that he's dead, but he's just captured. And I was like, wait, did I miss something?
I think there's like kind of a difference in between the audiobook and the regular book, just in like the way it's read. Because the way it's read, I don't know if Jackson, you remember this, but it felt like there was like a scene with Belle where he was like talking about it, and like it very much gave the implication that like Belle still feels him. And I can't tell if that
Yeah.
was something that
Yeah, that didn't really come across in the book.
yeah, maybe it was like a way it was spoken and like in way it was enunciated by like the audible guy that was like very clear, like, no, I can feel him out there. I'm not sure. It was weird.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
wasn't as clear as you want it to be with Luden.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean they just had so much going on at the end too, but like when it comes to the Nile though, they really made them come around into their full villain form by part 3. They were kind of just like accidentally stumbling into the villain role the whole time, and then
Or were they?
yeah, well, you think they were, and then Road just goes like full Joker and takes
yeah,
control of the Nile basically because he gets that taste for power, and he's like, I want a ton of this now. And then
From the beginning, like he's the one who it wasn't an accident. Like he's the one who crashed his ship into the Legacy Run.
yeah, I do think it's funny though, like they have this disaster, they have these skirmishes with the Nile and this and that, but then like they still light the Starlight Beacon and they're just like, we're here, hope is here.
It's
Yeah,
that beautiful
everything's
Jedi
cool.
hubris that we all
Yeah.
love.
It's like an even more amplified version of the "we saved the city" meme, where now it's like we've saved the galaxy.
yeah,
Yeah. I think the one thing about the Nihil that I think is kind of wild is, first of all, we still don't really know. Marchand Rose obviously got some like weird he's got some score to settle with the Jedi or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's still just kind of like a crew of bandits with fancy hyperspace capabilities.
Yeah.
So like I wonder how this is gonna work going forward. Where like when you're fighting like dark side, like they're also like force users with laser swords. Like the Nihil are still just like random like pirates. They just have like a more unified goal now.
Yeah. For now, at least. Who knows where their story may lead?
yeah. It's so hard to
like,
tell with that.
they're-
It has to go somewhere.
Their hyperspace strategy that they have, is that just light speed skipping? Did that kind of come across as that to you guys?
I
With their
I think
still
it's more
don't
so
really
that
know
like
how-
I think it's like they don't, or like no one even knows how to use hyperspace really in my reading, and they're the ones that just found like lanes, I guess, which is like a weird way to think about it, because I never really thought about it like as in like, oh, there's like different, like traffic still exists in hyperspace, like you still have to understand like where you kind of need to go with it. So I don't know how the physics of it work, but
like they're using that Santeca woman for
to
her
like find
kind of
lanes or something, right?
And
so,
like, is she just like super smart, or I feel like she's got some sort of like, not like force capabilities, but like I assume like she's got some special powers, and like the only special powers I know in this galaxy are force related, but like they kind of gloss over a lot of that stuff, or I wasn't wasn't paying attention. I can't really tell when I'm reading a book.
I don't think they really go too detailed into it. That's why I was asking, because like they just talk about how they're able to like pop in and out of the battlefield at will using these hyperspace lanes, but they're not really like specific about how they're doing it.
Yeah, it feels less like technology based and more like magic based in a way to me. Where like when Poe Dameron's light skipping, he's just like super smart and sexy. As opposed to this, which feels like a gift from God, aka Marshawn Rowe. I don't know. I think we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that Santeca isn't force related, but like, is the term clairvoyant? Would that fit here? Like somebody that can like
it could, but
feel the galaxy.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just like the force.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, but maybe they'll diverge on that more in the sequel. But like that was like my complaint when I finished it though, is I was just kind of like, oh, that's it, because like I knew we know there's a sequel, like it's already been announced and like I've pre-ordered it already, but I figured like there would be an ending to this story that would like that we would either begin in the next book with the same characters, or maybe there'd be like a remaining thread that would carry over. But this one legitimately is just like it just ends. So like I don't feel like I finished a story. I feel like I feel like I need the part 2 now to even.
I think that the one thing I do like about the way it ends is I feel like I know where it's going, both like story wise, but also like I can see the pieces set. Like I know what characters are kind of gonna be important. Like I know like Elzar and Avar have got their thing going. They've got their thing going, but they're also like kind of set up to kind of be the leaders of this story in some way, it feels like. And then you've got Bell, who's going to be looking for Loden, and then like Loden and the Nihil are kind of like going to take their own aspects. So I feel like the like pool of what's going on has shrunk a little bit, so they can maybe focus in closer on like the actual like storytelling of it all.
Which was a question we had last week on how are they going to rein this in to make it seem a little bit more focused, because there were just so many characters. Like I haven't looked into what exactly the young adult novels are about plot wise, because I'm trying to remain blind on everything. But like Belle trying to rescue Loden or find Loden could be its own novel in a way. Like that's an adventure in its own. It made me so sad though that Loden's the one that had to get captured, because like he's been my favorite of the Jedi so far. So now I don't know what his fate's going to be.
We'll say in this part we got a great fall scene from Belle.
Yeah, it finally pays off where Belle's able to complete the, I don't know what you want to call it, force fall ability to succession. So Loden believing in him ended up paying off. It came full circle like poetry.
It rhymes every stanza.
I'm a big fan of Loden being like, "Hey, if you don't die here, you can be a Jedi Knight."
Trial by fire, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we think this is leading up to bringing back Mace Windu because he fell off a building and he can last the fall? Do you think it's all connected?
I'm DJ,
joking.
don't do
I'm
that.
Joking. Don't. No.
I think my biggest character question is what's up with Buryaga? We didn't really hear from him aside from that one chapter.
Well, I think he's the main star in the children's book, like the main children's book. I don't know if that takes place in, but maybe that's the window of his adventure. Because I will read the middle grade stuff. I will, because there's at least substance to these, but I'm not going to get a picture book for children to keep up on the canon.
You read to your cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounded really sad when I said that.
Yeah. Well,
It wasn't meant to be, but
yeah. So I don't know what that book's about. Maybe I'll look at the Wikipedia and just figure out that way.
I have a question for you, Will.
Yeah.
Reading the book, how do they deal with the whole Shriwook thing? Because sometimes the narrator will just go raw and be like, he said this.
Yeah.
No, everything that Barry would say, they just have in speak, but they'll be like, Barry will
said
speak,
in Shriwook.
yeah, or something like that, or like they'll be like they're communicating through his language and stuff, but they'll always just have it in regular English.
So in your head, you're going, raw.
Yeah, in my head. Well, every time I read something like that now that involves like Shriwook being spoken, I just think of that dumb scene from Solo. Like that's what comes to mind every time. Like everyone knows I love that movie, but that's one of the moments in that film that I think is just super dumb.
You don't picture those scenes where like Peter Mayhew's speaking English, like from the like behind the scenes of A New Hope.
Mask,
yeah, he's like, they've gone mad.
But yeah, so I think the book was super good though, despite just kind of literally having no ending.
Yeah.
I am happy I went along on this journey.
Yeah. And like we're all in for more, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I almost wonder though if like the way the book ends is because like I said in the first episode of this 3-part series, I have not read Charles Soule's other novelization works. I've only read his comic work, and I think that's where most of his writing is. And this feels very comic book endy, where it's like, stay tuned for issue 2 for the rest of the story. And like, I think that's where the difference between comic writing and novel writing like should be, is like there should be a more definite ending to how a novel ends.
Yeah. A fun fact about Charles Soule: he used to be a lawyer before he started working in comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Explains why he wrote all of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does make sense then. Like,
it's actually pretty cool.
It's so interesting when people have like complete opposite backgrounds of what a comic writer should.
Yeah.
What's like
Tom King's from the
King
CIA,
an ex-CIA operative, and so
very interesting.
And it always leads to them having like the best stories.
Yeah, because they have such a unique perspective.
Yeah. It's like they don't have nerd backgrounds. They have these really interesting career backgrounds they're pulling off of.
This is why we get no good Star Wars books, because no one goes to space and fights with laser
Exactly.
swords.
They have no perspective for what it's actually like.
We need to have an astronaut write Star Wars.
You know what? Let's do it. If someone wants to do that,
yeah.
Really
somebody that's going to be on like the future moon mission, when they come back, give them a Star Wars book immediately.
Give them the Star Wars book that explains how hyperspace works in the High Republic era.
You know what? You know who we need to write that book?
Christopher
Elon
Nolan.
Musk.
Elon Musk. Elon would write so many memes into that book, it wouldn't even make sense.
They'd be like bad memes. It'd be
like bad memes.
Doge. Anyways,
I
liked the book.
He would create a virtual currency for Star Wars.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, let's give our closing thoughts here though on but actually before we do that, let's make our closing thoughts. Let's talk about that epilogue, because I know Jackson was really in on it.
Hey man, sometimes
would you like to introduce what that epilogue may be about?
Yeah, so Avar Kriss, after the death of a Jedi, is now in charge of Starlight Beacon, and she reveals this after kind of leaving from a large ceremony and walking out into like a space garden with Elzar Mann, her friend of many years. They grew up. They were Padawans together. They've worked together for many years now, and she's like, "Hey, I accepted a job on the Starlight Beacon." And he's like, "Oh, that's good." And Avar in this moment reflects on their past together when they were Padawans, which involved perhaps some romantic entanglements that she kind of says that like the Jedi like masters and stuff are like kind of okay with, and like if I remember correctly, somewhat like encouraged during like Padawan days, but they had to squash that when they became knights. But she does miss him, and there's a couple moments where they like get real close and almost touch, and then come pull away, and they're like, "No, we can't do this." And then she leaves, and he goes, "Oh well, we can still FaceTime." Um, and then she leaves, and Elzar Mann kind of has like a weird vision of the future. So yeah, it kind of ruins the mood there for me. But yeah, this epilogue hints at a perhaps prior and potential future romantic relationship, because it's not like they're just talking about the past. There's some tension there in this scene.
Oh yeah. Not only is Avar working on Starlight Beacon, but Elzar's got a beacon of his own going. If you know what I'm saying.
That's good. That's good.
I think it's I don't know how they read it in the audiobook though, but I thought it was hilarious, like how sexually tensioned this epilogue was, and the entire thing in the book is written in italics. So it
It's
makes
like
it
it's
like
read
you
in
just know.
italics
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
audiobook.
He's into it, but it's hard for him to do it. He has a great range, but I don't know if this is his forte here. But I don't know whose forte it is to write. I don't know. I've never listened to audio erotic fiction, so I don't know.
You haven't? Oh,
No,
DJ,
I've
I
not
could
done
see
that,
you with
so.
anybody being all about that subject.
No, that's not a thing I've ever done. So I couldn't. I have no comparison points, but I will say it was a little weird. It felt a little weird in the audiobook.
It's also weird because like Mark Thompson, when he's reading the audiobook, he does like Avar Chris's voice in like an effeminate way, but like you can tell it's still like him reading.
But
the
it's like
book.
kind of good. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
he like sounds like when I picture Avar Chris, that's what it sounds like.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds
He's,
like
he does voices, which is interesting, and none of them are like super bad. They're just like kind of jarring sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought this was this very big like Satine Obi-Wan energy here, with a little bit more longing on both sides though. And obviously there's like they're both Jedi, so
yeah. So I'll repeat my theory that I think we're leading towards here that I told you guys in our group chat.
Yeah,
let's
talk about this a little bit too, for sure.
I think the romance here ends up blossoming over the stories getting told, and I think they end up having a child that goes to the dark side when we inevitably get to that. And I think that's where the rule is going to end up coming from, where Jedi can't seek romance anymore. Is they're going to fall in love and they're going to have a child, and it's going to go wrong, and that's how the rule's going to start. I think it would be really cool to bring him back into the canon fold, though, if their child is what becomes Darth Bane. I think that would be a great way to reintroduce him into the new canon timeline that would fit.
I agree. I think it's interesting too, because like the way they describe it, like, well, like based on like the prequels, like this is the rule of the Jedi, which kind of like really screws them over in the end. Because like spoilers, Anakin becomes Darth Vader.
What?
As a child?
Oh, see, I didn't know that because we're so far before that. I don't even know what happens.
I haven't gotten to that one.
We haven't been that far in the timeline.
I'm going in timeline order right now. Okay.
Yeah, it's just funny because like it seems like a little more like lax in this. I think it's an interesting way to manipulate your young soldiers into being like, hey, you can maybe get a little flirty when you're like 15, but after that, horny bad.
Yeah, get it out of your system while we can't control it, and then there you go. I think this is like the most interesting angle that this series can take overall, just because I don't want it to be like we're just answering questions that we don't really need answered. Like it doesn't come across that way to me. It feels more like we're expanding on this universe in a way, because like you watch The Phantom Menace and you're like, I'm aware these Jedi have these rules and I have them ingrained in my head because I watched 7 seasons of Clone Wars, but why did any of them exist like ever? Like we never actually get like the reasons for any of that. We never actually see them like fall apart because of the rules they have, and it would be cool to actually see like, even though we obviously are like, no, like Jedi should probably have sex. That seems like a good thing to do.
Mhm.
But
DJ,
like,
so
now
you're on
it-
record. You're on record saying Jedi should have sex.
yeah, I think we're
Okay.
all on that boat. But
DJ is
now, if we go
pro-sex.
back like this, we can be like, okay, I kind of get where they're coming from in a weird way.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll color the prequels in a cooler light by
Yeah,
the end of this series.
It's interesting though, because say my theory becomes true, they do have a kid that goes bad and they ban that, and then Anakin and Padme having their kids have their own destructive
That's
consequences.
balance.
Obi-Wan and Satine have their consequences of not acting on each other's relationships. Does that change the underlying story between the High Republic, the prequel era, and even the new trilogy or the original trilogy in a way that premarital sex bad? Is that the story of Star Wars?
The entire Star Wars series is led to this.
I
George
will
Lucas
say
just hates
the whole
premarital
story of
sex.
Star Wars is abstinence.
I will say, Anakin was married.
That's true.
Oh,
They did
come
wait
on
till
now.
marriage.
We all saw Attack of the Clones. There's no way
No, I think they
behavior
did.
happened in that on that lake
That's-
resort.
I think
That's
they
true.
I think they waited till after, honestly. I think after the picnic they were just like, well,
And
I guess I'll go kill some clones. I don't know. Or if it's
Anakin
droids,
seems
sorry.
like one of those guys who would be like, you're not allowed to have sex before marriage.
Yeah.
But like he really wants to like have sex, but like the woman, she's not allowed to. Only have sex with me after we're married.
Yep. Yep.
I
He's
think
trying to keep her sacred in a disgusting way.
Yeah, that's why I get so mad when. Anyways, we're not talking about the prequels.
Yeah, let's not talk about Attack of the Clones right now.
I think it's interesting. I think I agree with Will that like I don't need like questions answered about like random stuff, but I think it's interesting if what happens here kind of informs and brings new perspective to the way things go down in the kind of like the Star Wars that we know, because I just can't see it being like I know I feel like I know Disney too well for them to be like, here's a series of books. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some sort of like weird thread going on here. And they're surprisingly restrained in this book. Like Yoda's mentioned and like seen at the very end, but
yeah, he's
not
only
like
mentioned in the book like maybe 3 times total, like including his appearance at the end.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? Good for you. You had that one lingering connection and you barely referenced it. And then obviously they like go to a couple places and there's some recognizable names, but like nothing over the top. But I feel like, especially like by the time we get to the end, there'll be some, if not overlapping like actual events, some overlapping themes.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause if there's one thing we know about Star Wars,
It's like poetry. It
I mean,
rhymes.
it's gonna have to tie in at some point anyway, just because that's how the canon works. Like,
Yeah.
it can't be too stand on its own to begin with. But like this is separated enough from everything we've learned before through Star Wars. Like, I don't know if I said this last week on the episode or not, but like I would legitimately just recommend this book to someone I know that likes fantasy novels. I would just say,
Yeah.
hey, I know you don't like Star Wars, but you love reading fantasy books. Like, this is one you should read, because it's like devoid enough of Star Wars to be like, it just reads like a fantasy novel to me. So I mean, like, I think it's a very good job of having a high space fantasy novel with just buzzwords from Star Wars history that we know, like lightsabers instead of swords. But
those
Or-
Santecas,
or
everyone,
magic.
that name drop.
Yeah, that name drop is what really gets it. But I do have a little bit more comfort now in my theory now about Avar and them having a kid that goes bad than I do Naboo popping up and thinking they're going to tie in Palpatine somehow. Because that was, as soon as they went to Naboo to talk to the Santecas, I was like, please, for the love of God, keep the Palpatine family name out of this.
We all know they're doing Sith though. By the end of this, it's gonna happen.
Well, they have to lead to the reemergence of the Sith, because like
they're dead.
Bane and Plagueis exist before Palpatine, so like they got to get to that point at some point anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to have it find out where it's like Palpatine's grandfather is like the apprentice or the master of Plagueis or something. Like I just wish they would let Plagueis be the connection to Palpatine going forward. Don't keep his family ties being.
If you want to do Plagueis here, I think that is the closest to Palpatine I want this.
Yeah, that's
if
what
they
I'm
did
trying
if
to
they
say.
did Plagueis, like I would be like, okay. I wouldn't be like, oh, I know who that guy is. I'm freaking out right now. I would be like, okay, you're doing Plague. All right, cool. Let's see how this goes. So
and I mean his book, even though it's not canon anymore, is still baller. So like that's definitely still worth reading. Is the Darth Plagueis novel. Like that is like a Sopranos style crime mafia book, and it's great.
Not what I would expect there.
Yeah,
right.
it's really good. That's like one of the few Legends novels I would still recommend people read anyway.
The Familia.
Yeah, but yeah, the book ends really good. I can't wait for part 2. I guess it'll be interesting to see how the storytelling shifts, because this one's going to be Kavan Scott and not Charles Soule.
He's got a good Star Wars name.
Yeah, he does. He has like a Jedi name in his own.
Yeah.
I know
British.
he's written some comics, but the only experience with him before that I have is the only Star Wars audiobook I listened to was the Dooku Jedi Lost book.
That's his book, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and it's really good. I like it. There's a lot of good stuff in that book, so I'm curious to see how he does with handling the High Republic stuff. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on this at all?
No,
I hit it.
I'm happy to have read this book. I'm glad I did. Mostly partially because we spent 3 weeks on it, and it would have been awkward if I hadn't read it. But no, aside from that, I'm excited to see where we go, and I'm excited to pick and choose my Light of the Jedi, my High Republic content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we think we're reading Into the Dark? I'm guessing Will is going to.
I am.
Is that the
that's the Claudia Gray
young
one.
adult book that comes out?
That's I actually when I pre-ordered Light of the Jedi, I just picked another one of them, and that's the one I picked. So
okay.
I will have it. Will I read it? Probably.
Yeah.
I might. We'll see how the reviews go when it comes out. Like,
I'm
all in for Rising Storm, obviously, but
I've heard good things from people that have early copies, at least.
Yeah.
That it's pretty good. So I mean, Claudia Gray, you can't really go wrong with. Everything she writes is great. But yeah, so 2 thumbs up for Light of the Jedi.
6 total amongst it all.
6 total thumbs. So before we dive into DJ talking to us about how the comic goes, I will briefly talk about the book A Test of Courage by Justina
Don't briefly,
Ireland.
man. Hit me full on. Go.
Yeah.
Go
so like I've said, this is a middle grade reader. So like it's like the target audience for this is like middle schoolers. Like I will give in, like this is all the more text there is per page. And I think
for all our middle schooler listeners out there.
Yeah, and I think I showed on a similar on an episode either last week or the week before. Like it's a significantly smaller book, but don't let the target audience sway you. Like this book is also a middle grade reader, and this actually made me care about these characters that in a way that Rogue One, the movie itself.
Yeah, you're showing Guardian of the Wills, by the way.
Yeah, Guardian of the Wills by Greg Rucka, another pretty well-known comic writer. But yeah, like this book was awesome. So I had pretty high hopes going into Test of Courage. The best way I can describe how the story structure on this one is like, picture they take that story arc of Clone Wars where it's the younglings getting their kyber crystal, and instead of that arc being a cartoon, it's a book. Like that's the best way to describe how the adventure of this book is. So like,
is that just a feel, or are they actually getting kyber crystals here?
No, that's just like the feel of how it goes. So like there's the story of the book is Vernestra, what's your last? Vernestra Rowe. She's a brand new Jedi Knight. She's only 16 years old, so she's one of the youngest Jedi ever to be knighted.
Wow.
At the age of 16. So another Jedi Master that they just call Master Douglas, his apprentice, Emery Kantaros. Oh, Douglas? Is that name too normal for you?
Douglas?
Yeah, Master Douglas.
Master,
please,
okay, yeah.
Please, Master, teach me how to Douglas.
So it's like these 3 Jedi are on this Republic cruiser ship called the Steady Wing. So like Vernestra's assignment is there's this Republic like dignitary's son, like daughter named Avon, and she's like this inventor. So like she's tasked
Going
with
door to
being,
door.
she's like, yeah, going door to door. So she's like tasked with being her bodyguard essentially on this trip that they're going on. And so like there's also another dignitary's child who DJ will love this name as well, is named Honesty Weft.
Okay, that's always more Star Warsy.
Yeah, so like
It's
there's
stupid,
this
but
there's this they're all like around the same age. They're all preteens basically, except for Vernestra. So they're on this Republic mission on this ship called the Steady Wing, and it's rigged for explosion by these two like by this crew of the Nile. Essentially, so like the book starts off with these Niles like rigging it with explosive, and they're like, we're gonna make the legacy run look like child's play. So they're the majority of the book is this them like becoming friends on the ship or whatever, and then things go wrong basically. So the Jedi are trying to do Jedi things and save everyone on the ship before things go too bad. Like there's a hole in the ship that the Jedi use the Force to plug to buy them some time. But then before things like, so like there's one shuttle left on the ship, and they get there at the end, and it's just this remaining crew. And then Master Douglas sacrifices himself so that way the kids
no,
can get off on this.
I became so attached to them in the last 5 minutes, and now he's taken away from me.
So he sacrifices himself so that way the kids can get off, and they land on this forest planet. And
Endor.
Yeah, no, not Endor, but they spend like the majority of this book trying to survive. Basically, they send out an emergency beacon to signal that they're still alive, and then of course,
sounds like an Ahsoka book.
Yeah, kind of like that. But so like there's some confrontation where it's like, well, Vernestra, you're this Jedi Knight, you should be able to handle things, and how do I pronounce his name again? Imri, is that what I said it was? Yeah, Imri was the apprentice of Master Douglas, so he's like angry that he had to die basically. So like they come across in their travels like the Nile crew that rigged the ship to explode is also camped at an outpost on this planet, and they find that out. So like Vernestra is like, we need to capture these people and find out what their motivation were, so that way we can kind of learn about them. But like Imri just goes like full Anakin. He like force chokes people. He like deals with like this rage, and the whole time they talk about how like the rage that he's expressing is the path to the dark side. But Jedi are allowed to be angry because that's a natural emotion. So like that's a little bit of a different approach where they're like, in the prequels we know like any anger at all is like frowned upon, but like
no feeling.
But like at this point in time, if someone's angry about something, that's like a natural emotion. They can be that. But like she says several
groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, she says several times
feel.
that Imri is expressing rage, much different. So they do end up like capturing the Nile people and taking them back, but then the book ends with them arriving to the Starlight Beacon for the ceremony. So like by the time the story's done, they're at the same place the characters from Light of the Jedi all are as well. And so the sequel, what's interesting though is like this book is middle grade, but the sequel that she is writing to continue their adventures is the next young adult novel coming out.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they're really getting messy, aren't they?
Yeah. So I mean, that's like a whole level above in reading level and story detail they can go. So maybe they're actually going to start getting into the weeds with this character. Because like Vernestra is like, for what we get, is a pretty cool Jedi. And she's a kid like she's modified her lightsaber to have an option where it can be a whip.
I did see this,
which is pretty baller. So like there's this part where like the foliage is too strong, so she turns it on and is like whipping out the weeds and stuff so they can make it through the forest.
It sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, it was like like, well, she even says that too. She's like, I haven't practiced enough with this mode where like I could actually take my own limb off if I'm not careful.
Like if a normal whip comes back and hits you like in the leg, you're like, it just kind of, when you're like going to swing, it just kind of grazes you. You're fine. But the lightsaber, you can't mess
no
around
coming
there.
back from the lightsaber.
No, yeah, you gotta
on you.
You gotta know what you're doing.
But yeah, it's a fun, pretty grounded short story. It's definitely just for kids. It's not as good as the Guardian of the Wills book though, which was kind of sad. But like the characters are all cool enough where I'm excited for the sequel book. Because I don't know what to expect out of that one. But I wouldn't really say this one is a must read, to be honest.
Must read? Okay.
Yeah. But it was good. I had a good time with it. I read it in like the course of 2.5 days. I didn't read it as fast as I wanted to, just because they spend so much time just like being friends and not really adventuring. It just kind of got boring at times. So I would put it down.
I want to read a book about a Jedi therapist, because I think they could use one of those.
They should do a Heroes in Crisis. They should bring Tom King in and do Heroes of Crisis, but Jedi. That would be good. That'd be really
Heroes
good.
in Crisis?
I do remember Heroes in Crisis. It was a good time. Well, it was a bad time, but it was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyways, we'll have some questions for you about this book. You kind of covered my first one a little bit, but I want to ask it. Is there going to be any crossover characters, do you think? And I guess like there's a new book that's going to be like a higher level, so I guess like it kind of like is something we have to pay attention to. I assume that the characters would kind of stay on their own some, and this would just be like a one-off thing, but I guess that's not the case, is it? Do you think?
They're definitely setting up this core crew of kids to have some kind of importance, I think, especially with the next novel being a jump up in reading age. Like, I'm not sure what the Claudia Gray book is going to be about and how that exists, but I do know enough about it just because I've read marketing stuff where that book, this Test of Courage, and the Light of the Jedi all end at the same point in time.
Yeah.
So going forward, these crews could all mix together and interact. So it'll just be interesting to see kind of how they do that. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Imri specifically, because he's without a master now. He's only a Padawan.
Right.
So without DJ's favorite Jedi, Master Douglas, being alive anymore, they're either going to have to reassign him, or maybe Vernestra gets him as a Padawan.
Sounds awful.
Is Douglas a human, or is he?
Yeah, he was a human.
He's a human. I couldn't imagine a Twi'lek named Douglas. That would have been even weirder.
But yeah, Vernestra is a pretty cool character though. She's young and hip, and she's young enough they can make her last several years worth of storytelling too. Because I mean, I think Anakin was what, 20 by the time they give him.
He's 9 in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but by the time they give him knighthood,
he had some issues becoming a knight, though, if I remember.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just trying to think if I know anyone that was like younger than 16 by the time they were.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Grogu.
I guess so. Well, I'm interested, but I hope whenever they do a sequel to this book that is good, that I don't have to go back and read this one, because it's fine, but I'm not.
Yeah, that'll be.
I hope they set it up well so that I can actually. The
sequel is also being written by Justina Ireland. But it comes out in June, so I think when I read that book, I can just be like, "Hey, you can skip Test of Courage, just dive right in."
Yeah, they'll probably do that. My other question was, what's up with Yoda? Because I know he's in this book, right?
No, there's no mention of him in this book.
I thought. Okay, well,
he's at
I'm stupid.
I mean, he might be at the. I think he was at the end ceremony, and that was all they talked to him about.
Maybe, you know what it was? There was, because they said that he was going to be off with younglings, like he was training them or something, and then my brain might have just assumed, he's going to be in the Test of Courage
High Republic comics.
Is that the IDW one?
Yeah, the IDW.
Okay, comics. That's where I got it all. I got the wires crossed there.
Yeah,
I was thinking that he was like a prominent member of this book
that I didn't have.
No, yeah, I trust you.
Yeah, there is an epilogue to this book though. unfortunately for Jackson, it's not horny because it's a middle grade reader, but it's just the
That's
part
good.
one.
That's good. We're good with that.
It's just the part one of the next middle grade book, The Race to Crash Point Tower,
Right.
that Daniel Jose Older's doing. That comes out in July. It's pretty good first chapter. That book actually sounds like it might be fun to read, so count me in.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Will. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your review.
Yeah. So I think the book is good, but I would not recommend it to adults. If you have a kid, let your kid read it. I think I would definitely recommend it for kids. I don't have any, but if I had one,
read it to your cat, like we said.
Yeah, I'll read it to my cat. Clem would like it. But yeah, DJ, why don't you talk to us about the comic?
All right. So the High Republic first issue comic of the main runs, not the IDW one. I just read the regular Marvel one. It starts us off with it starts off at the end of the Light of the Jedi, which is weird because they in marketing they were just like, yeah, you can just jump into the comic, you'll be fine. And I read the comic and I was just like, no, you shouldn't do that. Like that's like you could, and like
does it end at the end of Light of the Jedi?
Yes, like no, like the first scene is our new Jedi, which I cannot remember her name. Why am I forgetting her name?
So it's not the end.
No.
Not the epilogue,
first
Jackson.
Scene
Relax.
Is, I'm gonna get her name here.
What some tasteful art.
She is the Padawan of our boy, who I also can't remember the name of because names are hard. The Trandoshan character who gets his arm chopped off in Light of the Jedi. What is his name?
I can't remember either, actually.
I had them both this morning and I did not write them down. Give me 1 second here.
DJ tapping through that comic.
I'm actually just Googling it because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Okay. I'm going to look through the comic now. Just give me 1 second.
DJ's crushing it with this comic.
I know. Master Skier was his name.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So she is the Padawan of Master Skier, and he is like trying to train her, and they're on like this weird. There's like this weird like I don't know. It kind of looks like what's that planet called? Felucia? Yes, Felucia. Like it kind of has like the planet has kind of like that vibe.
Wait a minute. That Jedi Master is also in the end of this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's who Vernestra meets. Because that's
really?
why when you said Yoda, that's what got me confused. Because I was like, I don't remember her meeting Yoda, but no, it's that guy. Because everyone was really hype about that Jedi when they announced him or whatever. But
yeah, he's cool. He is cool in this book too. Like they're constantly making jokes about how he doesn't have an arm. Like there's this big thing that she has to climb to get like these like random like pearls. It was like he said it was Tythonian like pearls or something that she had to grab, which was like a nice little reference. But she had to grab them as part of her training, and she was like, "How did you put them up there?" And you just like, "You have one arm," and just like, "Yeah, I made it happen. Like I got this. I'm a Jedi. I know what I'm doing here." So that was fun. But then after they do this sort of like training session, that we jump into the finale of Light of the Jedi. They're at Starlight Beacon, and Avar Chris is there. Some other Jedi are there, just kind of talking with them. I'm not sure what not a lot happened. Like this is like honestly like I'm at like the end of the issue here because like it's just 22 pages. It's very short. It's very much just set up.
22 pages too.
Yeah, like it's.
Oh, that's really short.
Yeah, it's not. The comic's not a lot so far. So like it was good. Like it was a fine introduction to this new Jedi story. And it was cool to see some callbacks to Light of the Jedi, characters crossing over and such. But there's not a lot to say right now with just one issue, really. Okay. But I recommend it. I would not. I never read comics issue by issue. I always wait for trades, but I would wait for trades here as well, just because there's not a whole lot of meat to it.
A DJ Gillard one to watch.
Yeah, one to watch. You should pay attention to the book or the comic book like going forward. But right now, just wait for a few issues and see where it goes.
It'll be interesting to see just from when that story takes place if that's going to be like the filler between main novels, basically.
Yeah, because like that's kind of like my thing with it right now is like I can't tell if it's just going to be a singular story on this new Jedi Padawan, or if it is going to be kind of like a team all around book where, because like I have Ava Chris is there, like Elzar Mann's there, Yoda's there, like they're all just kind of like talking amongst each other, and I can't tell if it's just gonna be like, here's some interstitial stuff, because it's continuing on, like we're actually gonna get like, we're probably gonna get some tidbits that are gonna lead into
comic book for the High Republic.
Yeah, so we're gonna get tidbits for things that are gonna happen in Rising Storm, you would think, right? Like they're gonna start leading in, especially the book's written by Kevin Scott,
right?
So like he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious.
No Vernestra appearance though.
No Vernestra appearance.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think everyone should pay attention to this in 6 months. Then be like, oh, okay, there's like 10 issues or 6 issues now. Let's do it.
Well,
you imagine?
Do you think it's going to divide itself into story arcs where you could like binge all of them before reading the next novel?
See, I don't know how this is working, and I've seen so many conflicting things, because there was when they announced it, it was an ongoing straight up, and then there was a solicitation that came out like, I don't know, months ago now, where it was just like, it's one of 6.
Yeah,
just a 6-issue thing, and then I keep looking again, and the new solicitations don't have that, so I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Here's my guess.
I don't know if it's a mini or if it's going to be completely ongoing.
My guess is Kevin Scott will write the first 6 issues, and they'll lead directly into his book, and then he'll stop writing it, and then it'll kind of become a new series written by someone else,
maybe.
Potentially leading up to
the next book or something.
Yeah, I can kind of see that where he maybe leads into his story and then goes on, and that's where the one of 6 comes in.
Maybe.
Where like comic books do this a lot, where they like their volumes are like essentially different stories. Like from one writer to another. So that's what my completely uninformed guess would be.
Yeah. The thing that throws kind of a monkey wrench into it too is they announced that graphic novel.
There's 2 graphic novels.
Yeah, and like they're like, so I wonder if that was like going to be the full High Republic like thing, and that they've switched directions, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna release it all as one thing, and we're just gonna put this one out as a 6 issue. I don't know, but I'm very curious where it's gonna go for sure. It's definitely good. Like I recommend reading it for sure. I recommend keeping an eye on it. And it is one of the coolest things about it too, is just to actually see this world visualized in a weird way. Like you see these like lightsabers, and they got all these like fancy engravings and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, like this, all their clothing is like what we've seen in marketing. It's like, this is like we're actually seeing this era now instead of just reading about it, which is cool.
You know, now that I think about it, I think Elzar Mann and Avar Chris's lightsaber hilts are in that lightsaber book that came out in December.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go back and reread their pages, because I remember skipping over them because I was like, I don't want to. I want to go into High Republic as blind as I can be. Maybe now that I've read Light of the Jedi, I'll go back and see what it says about them.
Yeah.
Oh, so a good recommendation from DJ.
Yeah,
we've learned a lot about the High Republic today.
Yeah,
we did.
And most importantly, we learned that the important part is the friends we've made along the way.
Of course, yeah,
exactly.
like Elzar Mann.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, unless Jackson, you have something Star Wars related you've done in the recent time.
No.
Let's just, out of the exposure that we've had to High Republic material so far, who are your favorite 2 Jedi that we have?
Luden, obviously. Luden and Bell. They're our boys.
Yeah. I think Luden, obviously. It's hard for me to separate, because it's between Avar and Elzar, but like to me they're so like together, like because they're always together in the story, and also they're connected. I think I'm excited to see. I think Avar gets her due in Light of the Jedi, and Elzar doesn't as much. So I'm gonna say Elzar, just because I'm curious to see where he goes, because he seems like he's going to be very central to kind of the plot, especially when it kind of ends with him seeing visions of the future.
Yeah, I think my favorite two probably right now are definitely still Loden and Bell, but Vernestra's coming in hot. She might take over one of those top two spots at some point because she's pretty cool so far.
That's good. That's good.
I was a fan of Buryaga from like, I liked the scene of him on that like diplomacy ship where he like talked to that kid. I thought that was very, very good Jedi work there.
Yeah.
My favorite two characters are the two lions that follow around the Chancellor. Those are some good boys over there.
Those two beasts.
Yeah.
Those two huge, beautiful beasts. I had to reread it 5 times to make sure I wasn't skipping an R. Yeah, so the High Republic is just off to a great start. They kept the momentum hot, and they finished with the momentum hot. So I'm very excited for Claudia Gray's book here in a couple weeks. I'm excited for all the sequel books that will start rolling out in June. I mean, I think pretty much everything, all of them come out in June, I'm pretty sure. Like, I know the next young adult book comes out in June. The next Kevon Scott's novel comes out in June. Oh no, the middle grade novel comes out in July. So two of the 3 will come out.
I'm happy that it feels like you don't have to read everything too.
At least not yet. Like each one is different enough in tone where you can kind of experience it your own way.
Me sitting through WandaVision each week. Anyways.
I think the next book too is going to have a lot more action to it, and I'm only judging that off of the fact that the cover has like all of the Jedi being pinned down by somebody. So I'm pretty excited to see where things are going, but we got to make it through how many months? 3 months, 4 months until we get to find out what happens.
Sure.
Patience, brothers.
Yeah. DJ, you have something you want to say, or are you just giggling?
I'm just going for it, you know.
Yeah.
I got nothing more.
DJ's
I've
full
given you
Sunday
everything
down
I
there.
had. Yeah.
That's another nickname for DJ, is DJ the Giggling Gillard.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Cantina Conversations. If you've read any of these books so far in the High Republic, what have you been thinking of it? Reach out to us on Twitter at Cantina Convo and let us know what you think.
Or if you've caught something that we haven't read and you think is worthwhile, I'd love to know. I feel like we've covered most of it, but you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe those kids
I mean,
got a good book.
at this point, like, you're not going to sell me, but if you want to try, you can. You can go for it.
Yeah, let us know on Cantina Convo. If you've been listening to the show and have not been able to leave us a rating on the podcast platform of your choice, please be sure to drop us one. It doesn't even need to be 5 stars. Give us an honest rating on what you think. For better or worse. I want to see what people are thinking. And if you've been watching our show visually since we've decided to bring the video format into it, make sure you are giving thumbs up, liking, subscribing, giving the full rundown. Leave some comments on the YouTube channel on how you think the episodes have been so far. We want to try and get some more feedback so that way we can continue growing. We've got some super secret plans in the works right now that I am absolutely beyond stoked to be able to reveal soon. I know all of us kind of screamed like little children. We're pretty excited for it, and I think you guys will be excited about it too. But until we can reveal those plans, the boss, DJ, where can they find you at on Twitter?
DJ_Gillard on Twitter.
Jackson, where can they find you?
You can catch me at Jackson W. Wells, just tweeting nonstop.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at WO Beeman. Feel free to follow and reach out to us there. Until next time, thank you for joining us, and may the force be with you.